What's good, everybody? Welcome back for another recap review show here with your good folks at Big Gold Belt Media, where we're back for season 4 of BMF. Where tonight we're talking about episode 1, the premiere episode of this season, Graduation Day. It's your boy Lucas over there. I'm Nigeria. We're here to break this episode down. So, Lucas, how you feeling today, brother?
Hey, look, this has been a day, and this was an episode, and it's been a day and an episode.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
I'm underwhelmed by this premiere. Hoping things definitely get on the up and up with this season. I was expecting a lot more for this, and let's just keep it 100 with BMF. There's a lot floating around with this season because you had the beef with Little Meech and 50.
But not even the beef. Little Meech ain't do nothing. Don't think Little Meech did nothing. You had a beef between 50 Cent and his ego.
50 Cent and Big Meech, and then it trickled down to Little Meech. Yeah. just a lot of PR things that I felt like maybe
this is the last season.
Yeah, I just feel like it kind of potentially hurt the momentum of this show. 50 was talking about canceling it and whatnot, but
now you got STARZ.
STARZ looked the other way. Then
season.
Yeah,
it's coming out already, telling people, "Oh no, we may do another one after this."
Yeah. So it's a lot of things that I felt possibly could have hurt the momentum with the show. But at the end of the day, the show is the show, and the work's got to speak for itself. And I felt like with the premiere episode, man, I was a little underwhelmed. But on the positive note, B. Mickey and Lamar returning was definitely not in my deck of cards. And of course, yes, when they showed the trailer and they showed some of the early first looks and knowing that they were going to be a part of it, sure, just didn't know how they were going to do it, how was it going to make sense. And ultimately now I'm like, well, what was the decision to have them have B. Mickey miss all of season 3, and then for Lamar, because Lamar wasn't in season 3 either. So yeah, it's just just
Roman in season 2 at the end. And
that's right. So just really, what was the decision behind it, and how it was going to make sense for the viewers. But we have interviews on the channel for it, speaking to cast members and showrunners, the music director, all that good stuff to try to get as much answers. And so with that. But with that being said, without further ado, let's just get into tonight's episode. And again, this is 401 Graduation Day. And we go right back to where we left off at. And that was in Mexico, where we see Meech, Terry, and Loco on the run after being shot at. Loco being disguised as a woman, as he was a part of the escape plan. And they realize this is going to be an ongoing thing for them in Mexico until they're being brought back into custody. Ultimately, by the end of everything in Mexico, we see that Big Meech has been bit by a snake, and it looks fatal. I really don't know if there's anything to talk about here in terms of what we saw in the scene, but I do think what we are kind of setting up for here is that there's going to be this whole mystery, almost like The Hangover, of what happened. what happened that night in Vegas, or Bangkok. In this case, what happened that this whole time in
you got a
in
picture
Mexico?
At the end where a shaman gave Meech mystical powers as he brought him back to life.
it was Gandalf. That's who it was.
Nah, but I think not Gandalf. What's my man from Harry Potter? Dumbledore. You're a wizard.
And I think that's really what it is. And I just to keep it 100, that is what Heather, who also wrote this episode, did say in my interview with her, is that it really is about the mystique of what happened in Mexico, and we're going to slowly but surely discover that. For me, it's like, okay, so let's see what the payoff is. Looks like Meech almost died in Mexico, and then we also learned later that Terry left his ass in Mexico. While he was hanging out with Loco, who was dressed as a woman. So you're starting to like, what are we actually trying to say here right now? But
it was a wild time. It's wild.
Yeah.
Mexico can be like that sometimes.
Yeah,
COVID days in Tulum. That's what they had.
But anyway, by the end of this, we get Terry, grown Terry, doing commentary. And for a moment, I was like, wait, is this really Terry? Because we know Terry's out of jail, and he's been out of jail for a while, especially in the filming of season 4. So could he have been part of the show? But it is not. It's Mustafa Harris actually portraying grown Terry doing the commentary. Yeah. But while we're at it, speaking of Terry, there had been some breaking news as of recently, if you all have not heard. So BMF documentary season 2 is coming back to STARZ, and in this, we're going to have Terry himself break silence on everything for the first time ever. So that certainly should be a must watch, because Terry has not done interviews, and even if he's done interviews at some point, which has been never,
he's not really
never. Yeah. It makes it even more interesting that he now does his first interview now after he returns home. So what is Terry going to say?
Not only that, what do you gather from the point that you have 50 talking about this show's over and STARZ is expanding to different avenues of BMF? Like, I mean, business part, STARZ separated from Lionsgate. They are 2 separate companies now.
Yeah.
And STARZ is all letting it be known, the cheaper the better. And we talked about it. We talked about it last year with BMF. BMF does a great job of clearing the board and
clearing the fat, trimming the fat.
Yeah, that could be something that keeps us around, and maybe they want more into this BMF universe, because it's not. Let's get to this episode, because that's how we're going to talk about where this is clearly going to have to go to.
Yeah. So next scene. So after that, now we see Terry is gambling, because he's gambling to make ends meet, because he did not get the money he was supposed to collect from Jay Pusher, who we had met last season from St. Louis, who's the connect. Nothing really to make here. Lucas, by all means, just interject when you want to add some commentary to say, because
I am trying my best to find parts. This beginning,
it's a little bit of a struggle. It's a little bit of a struggle.
The beginning was really just straightforward. It was no need to interject in a lot of the stuff that you had at the beginning of this episode, because it was just setting up a premise. I think, you know what? It reminds me kind of how I felt for the first episode of Raising Kanan this year, where we kind of said it feels like a filler episode that you started the season off with.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, did they do that because they need to interject some of these characters back to you, that the B Mickeys, the Lamars, and then also build this tension without giving away why we have the tension? I think that's a tricky thing to pull off. So just to have the beginning of this episode where we see Terry struggling to make ends meet, we see everything with Nicole that, I'm sorry, I don't care about. And I like Nicole. I love this character, but I didn't like the setup of everything that's going on. So it's hard to interject. My interjection will be humor, because that's how we're going to have fun here.
Let's do it.
Why did Nicole look like Tito Jackson?
Let's do it. So next we get Lucille, and we get her meeting with one of the folks of the congregation, as it looks like they are looking to promote her as a new pastor, and the board wants to interview her. However, there's a conflict, because Lucille has Nicole graduation, but they said, listen, I don't know what type of, first of all, this show has never painted the church in a good light. And this was another one that was kind of like, oh, that's kind of brutal.
Snoop down.
Yeah, they was on something like, listen, kids gotta do kids thing, something. But the Lord said you need to be in that pulpit by Sunday, because we got a donor coming and we need a pastor. So fuck your kid graduation.
Hey,
show up for the Lord.
That's what she basically said. He is running a renegade Potter's house and getting Lucille to not care about her daughter's graduation, because the Lord said you need to be in this pulpit.
Yeah,
he said fuck her education now. Fuck celebrating. Be in his pulpit on Sunday. Collect these tithes and offerings in these building funds. Or just the point that we get to the point of, why would they go to Lucille to be a pastor? I am so all of this makes no sense here. Like yes, I'm gonna pick the divorcee to lead my hopefully soon mega church.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, bro. What we doing here? Like, it's just one of those things where, again, you need to progress this character of Lucille, and making her a pastor all of a sudden, maybe that can be an interesting thing. I thought they did a wonderful job last season with her struggling with becoming a divorced woman and dealing with her sexual tension and all these elements that were very interesting, and then you stripped all of that away and made her a pastor. Pastor Lucille can't be out this joint feeling on buff black men.
I'll talk about that. I'll say that. I'm gonna get us through the episode. I got some thoughts. We'll get through that. But next thing we got T. So T is calls Jay Pusher. Jay Pusher's on the other line, on the other side of the phone, buying jewelry, and T wants to collect his money. Jay Pusher's not trying to do here because he only deals business. Then bring your men up here to come get it. And he is basically like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go get some else who and go do it. But at the same time, all the T's folks like, where is Meech? Whole big theme of this episode is, where is Meech? Now we go to what I thought was a nursing home, but happened to be a drug addiction, whatever, halfway house, whatever you want to call it. But we get Lamar on the piano because, first of all, let me just shout out to Lamar, who was on Top Boy, Supercell. That's who he was on. He's British.
That's my show. We waiting for Supercell season 2 to come back.
You're right about that. You're damn right about that one. But who knew the crack could bring out the vocals? I did, because Bruno Mars. Nonetheless,
my man that joint was singing like Tonya Blunt and Lauryn Hill in Sister 2 when they was hitting his eyes on a sparrow. Like, oh,
we shall overcome face as Lamar on the piano. He went from
we shall overcome in any given time, except for the civil rights movement. It's not a song you normally just hear someone sing.
Honestly, Jonathan Majors, why didn't you pick up the phone? This was clearly your role here.
Dog. His civil rights face ass. This was perfect for Jonathan. This was perfect. Have him just standing behind Lamar in a suit with a skinny tie. You got it.
But anyway, Lamar, he's great. He sings the song in front of folks. He is apparently getting ready to graduate this program. He which was honestly interesting, because we had a moment of him reflecting back on all his addictions, and ultimately to end that statement by a voice of revenge, where he says he's not going to let anything beat him ever again. But I will say what's interesting about this is Lamar has very definitively been the villain of this series. Yeah. And this felt like a moment that they were trying to paint him in a good light. And that's why I kept saying, him bringing him back, what business does he serve? And if they're going to flip him and to turn it to be into a good guy, because obviously, they're taking creative freedoms and whatnot. And sure. And it's not the first time that characters that were bad guys all of a sudden came back because they were a fan favorite, and now they're a good guy, and we get to see them on a regular, and they align with our heroes, whatever it may be. So if that was what they want to do, then so be it. But that's why I kind of been looking like, okay, let's see what happens with Lamar. But nonetheless, that's that. Now we get T and Marquisha. Now Marquisha is out here running game. Her arc is looking a little interesting. But not that interesting, because women been setting up niggas for years. So this ain't no different, But we see her come back. T kind of like, hey, are we good after the Miami and bailing in Mexico? It's like, I'm just here to talk business. I am trying to stand on my own 2 feet. I want my own independence. I want in the game. I didn't watch this from the far. I didn't know. I got connections. I have values, and T said it. And I was gonna say, and T
That's
said it much like everybody else.
thing.
Like, you
Like,
may have watched from the sideline, but you've never done it. Yeah,
exactly.
And she only storms off this having that mess with little boys. What did you think about Marquisha all of a sudden getting this revelation that she needs to be in the game, not watching from the sideline?
It's an interesting turn for her because it's showing Marquisha fighting for independence, which we've never really seen. She went from her husband to T. So we've never really seen her, even though she's always had the best ideas on how to expand businesses. So here is just her, I think, finally realizing if I keep on staying dependent on a man to do something for me, then I'm always going to be held back because of that. It's almost the Stella treatment in Godfather of Harlem, where it is the woman who wants to step beyond being just a woman. And she's understanding the pitfalls of this by trying to get T to back her on something.
Okay.
She messed up in a way because she should have displayed the female card more and led. And I'm sorry, ladies, I'm gonna say it, but if she'd have led sexually, she probably would have got exactly what she wanted from T. But here, she wants his respect more than anything else. And that's not something T is willing to give out at the moment to her.
It feels like a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like respect, but also recognition. And I also feel like, how do I want to put this? Before we get to a scene later, it definitely felt like more of a, how do I put this? It's almost like validation. Yes. It's almost like she really wanted T to like buy into the idea that she really can do this to make herself
really contributed. Like she's really like, as we've seen over these seasons, like she's really contributed to multiple different moves and things that have made stuff more profitable, not only for T, but for other people involved. So now she's like, look, I need to be respected. It reminded me, it's weird, not reminded me in what happens, but it reminded me in what she wants to do, Force season 1 with Tommy and I'm about to call her Spanish lady. I cannot remember her name. Liliana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy and Liliana, and how Liliana had to fight for everybody to respect who she was in the position that she held. And I think that's what Marquisha wants out of this situation now. She wants to be respected. She wants to be a boss lady. I mean, every woman wants to be in charge at some point in their life. And Marquisha's there, and she has kids, and she's like, I can't depend on Boone. And her and Terry are constantly on the outs. And again, it's going to go back to what happened in Mexico and how long was Terry gone. Now she has like, nah, we are only business, like nothing personal anymore. So again, I think they're doing a job of flowing everything back to whatever happened in Mexico. And part of this with Terry and Marquisha has to do with that, because that's the first thing he brought up. Is, I guess we good.
I mean, he did character, and I think he just think they just back in there. But I don't know. You can, I guess.
He's also 18 and she's in her 30s. Like she's a pedophile. So like in the end, like he's Cassie. So like it's a lot going on here, and maybe she's expecting a kid to act like a grown man, and that's not something you should ever expect in life.
I think she's also acting like a kid, thinking like, oh, because I didn't get what I want, now I gotta talk shit about you because like I'm not gonna do it with these little boys. But then she was just back there the next day, later on in the episode.
Run back to the old work, trying to get something out of it,
you know. But I have that's really one of the only things I have thoughts about. So I'll wait till we get there. But next scene, we get Raw Dog Charles, and he's out there. I guess he's trying to make music on his keyboard, but I don't know. But Lucille's not having that. She's like, I can't hear your music. I'm trying to get ready for my interview. Lamar out here doing the cold hair. Definitely set her up, as you said, looking like Tito. But then the doorbell rings, and Lucille's like, this is my house. Tells him he can't do it. Charles, he decides that, you know, so there's a cake being delivered. There's a cake being delivered. She ain't got the money for it. First of all, is that how deliveries used to be? they run the bill at the door. Yeah, because I don't know, but he said, "Listen, run that."
I grew up in Washington of DC, so the last thing you was doing was bringing a cake to the door and thinking you walking away with that cake. Like, I don't give a fuck if I ain't got no money. Guess who's not walking away with that cake? You. You get two options here. You can drop this joint off, and hope I give you money, or you can get shot and I can just take the cake. Like it's very weird here. But so, it's Detroit. I don't necessarily know how they operated back there with cake deliveries.
So he tried to run a $70 tip delivery and tip fee. She ain't had the money. She tried to bargain it, but Charles said, "Listen, I got it. Keep the change." So he a little bit of flex there. But immediately after that, Lucille's like, "Well, where's child support?" But then Terry shows up, cracks a joke on Nicole, saying she looked like Tito Jackson. And then everybody's looking for Meech. Where's Meech? Is Meech gonna make it to the graduation? As Terry said, I haven't talked to him. Now, Lamar, because you know, if there's one thing I love about Lamar, he like him a little thick joint. And he in that joint trying to break her off in a sober house. And
me and Lamar ain't got nothing else in common. Listen, ain't nothing better.
Lamar tried to break one off as his graduation gift, but she not rocking with that. I mean, she did say she'll put that tongue to work, but that's just about it. But Lamar, and again, this is another scene of us trying to like make Lamar seems like more human, humane side to him, because
rehabilitate him.
Yeah, because even with that, Lamar was like, he felt like everything out there gave up on him. The system didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And she talks some measure of confidence into him and then tries to throw it on him. And then while they're getting ready to do something, Lamar is then told that he has another visitor. We didn't discuss who that. They don't show who the visitor is.
They never even showed who the visitor is. But whoever that visitor is changed Lamar's complete mood. He was ready for a change to rehabilitate himself, and we see by the end of the episode where he ends up at.
Yeah.
Who was that person? Was it his? I assume that it was possibly his daughter.
No, or it was what's his name? That got him out before in season 2. The one that helped him.
No, he killed him.
Alvin. No, he's alive.
He killed Alvin. Then he killed Alvin?
Nope, Alvin's alive.
I thought he killed Alvin. I don't know why I thought he killed Alvin. I knew it wasn't Cash Doll, so it didn't matter to me. I ain't cared about Lamar since Cash Doll died. Like I'm still beefing with him over that. Like,
so now,
how dare you?
So now we get Terry. Terry's cutting Charles' hair. Terry then Charles asks Terry about his baby girl, who Terry says is now walking. Now his baby girl name is Alexis, who I know to be played by Haven Huggins, who happens to be the daughter of Randy Huggins, who is the show creator. So definitely really cool and beautiful to be able to have his daughter a part of it, and all of this is possible because of Randy, and everybody involved with this always honors
Randy.
So to have his daughter is definitely absolutely. So
I wasn't even gonna make fun of the kid being named Alexis because you already know Kanye. You already know what her life is. Like, you ain't gotta guess. If your name is Alexis or Lexus, I'm just assuming you either a stripper or a dope boy's girlfriend at this point in your life. Like, I mean, there's no corporate lawyers or a doctor. Like, you wouldn't have a doctor who named, like, what's your name, Alexis? Be like, no, give me another doctor, please. I need someone not named after an automobile. Like, like, come on.
But anyway,
you should the pink with Mercedes.
The really important thing about this scene is about that Charles is asking about Meech, and we established a timeline that they have not heard from Meech for about 6 months. So we know from the Mexico scenes we see in the beginning of the episode to where we're at in the current timeline has been a 6 month gap, half a year. So now we get Lucille in the interview room with the board from the church, and they're like, hey, we know what you're here for. Of course they do. And they have her background, but they decide to throw it in her face about her family her kids and what they're involved with, as well as the pending divorce. And Lucille just humanizes the whole thing by saying she doesn't look to talk above people. She wants to sit with the people. And yeah, she's right. That's exactly the type of leadership you want to have. And obviously we see that was enough.
That is not the leadership you want in your church. Your sons are literally destroying the community selling drugs.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying. I'm not saying she's the perfect candidate. I didn't say that. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said that her sitting with the people instead of talking above them. That's the problem. The problem is these angelic folks to the top that feel like they did no wrong.
I need my pastor to be above me. I need you not to be on my level.
You don't. That's
I don't want you on my level. I don't want you on Lucille's level.
Yeah. No. Again, nobody said she was the perfect candidate, but nobody's saying you don't need these people that be like, I don't curse, I don't eat meat, I ain't never did a bad thing in my life. And you see them, you see them at the Costco's so cursing somebody out, and you're like, huh?
They send every Sunday when they go to Red Lobster eating shellfish. So I pay them no attention. But for Lucille,
exactly. And you see them.
It's the family dynamic that made it so odd that they would even like approach her to be the future pastor.
No. I'm gonna let you talk, but let me help you out. Think about what you're saying. Now. We talk about the church. Let's talk about my man Gucci Down in Brooklyn. Just think about this now.
We saw him and we knew who he was. Okay, exactly. We saw him at Power 2 premiere. That wasn't no pastor. That was a crook in a suit.
But did you hear what he said on one of his last lives, shall I say, where he says, I feel like the Lord said I need to be blessed with a new Rolex. Y'all need to put in y'all time.
If you're dumb enough to do that, then that's on you. But with Lucille, I'm saying it's an odd decision to go with because we've seen already in this series the way the congregation reacted to her sons.
So my thing is, which I was trying to lead you towards, is that they can say that, but they also might see the benefit from it because it is a business and they do know that there's income coming from that. And when you think about this though, Charles is doing good because he's hanging out with the famous folks. And I know that's a valid point because look how everybody was treating him into the graduation. Like, oh my God, tell us all the people you met. So we got the perception of what Charles do. We hear about the sons, you know what I mean? And how much money they make. And it doesn't make it no better that like their daughter now is going to college and optic wise of that. Like there's a lot of benefit in corruption by putting her. And then let's not forget that the whole point of her becoming pastor so expeditiously is that they had to get her in front for the donor. Now, granted, does the donor know her background? No, but do they feel like she knows enough to be able to lead the charge, that to look the part, to be able to talk the game? Yeah, it's honestly, like I said in the beginning, they have not painted the church in a good light in 4 seasons.
You know what? I'm gonna keep it real for a second and why this is not believable to me. I'm trying to be so politically correct, and I'm just gonna end it right here. She's a woman. Ain't no way in the 90s a woman is leading anybody's church. If you don't sit down and be somebody's first lady, you are not leading a church. You are a woman. You're a lady. You're not supposed to lead a church. You're supposed to sit down in the pews with everybody else, or be an apostle, or like whatever Juanita Bynum does. Like that's what you're supposed to do. But actually lead a church in this time period, I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. It's just that in the 90s, especially the early 90s, it was rare that women led churches. So it just made Lucille an odd choice for me.
That's why it's even more conspicuous, because it's like defied all the odds to put her in place, because her sons are legends, living legends as we know it. And we know that the money, the potential, and that's really the really sad part about all of this is that they looked beyond optics, they look beyond qualifications. They probably even looked beyond
other associate pastors that had to be at the church already.
Just for the sake of like, man, maybe we can get in on that. Some of that, maybe she's getting some. And that's just the thing is people are opportunists to all degrees. Let's not act like people don't do that right now, and there are all sorts of other things. But anyway, moving on to the next conversation.
Joel Osteen exists for a reason, so I'm not disagreeing.
Hey, I like Joe. What's wrong with Joe? I like Joe.
Come on.
But anytime anything says mega church to me screams corruption. But that's no here nor there. Next we get, where are we at? Because we jumped around a little bit here. So now we get T. So T's out with his folks playing spades. He's still stressing about Jay Pusher. Need to get that bread. And then one of his boys come in and he's just not rocking the dress code where apparently you must be Adidas on feet, all black, head to toe. And this was like an unnecessary scene, but this shit was funny as shit. He said, "How we gonna get hoes if we all dressed alike?" That might be the line of the night, but now we get
this brings. I think this scene was good to show that T, or at least they're portraying that T just doesn't know how to be a leader. Why would you want everybody dressed alike so everybody fits the profile? That means no one can get away with anything because everybody fits the profile.
That's funny. That's funny.
It makes literally no sense.
That's funny.
And then they get on my man talk about you ain't in uniform. And he like, what this armed services or something? Yes, nigga, it is. No, we're selling narcotics and you want everyone dressed alike to let the police know we're a gang. Like it literally makes no sense. But again, these are decisions, and I think they wanted to show it or highlight it. These are the decisions that Terry is making.
Yeah.
That Meech would have never made.
Yeah,
and that's the difference between these two. Meech is the flashy one. It felt like Terry was attempting to downplay exactly who Meech was and his impact by enforcing a dress code when he knew his brother was the flashiest person in the world, and he would want everyone else to be flashy. But
that's a good point.
All black with white on, nigga, no. We are not in Omen, as Little Kim would say. So no, we're not doing this, Joe.
All right, let me get through some of these other
niggas.
Right. Let me get through some of these other scenes now. So Marquisha goes to see Boom in jail, and this was nothing but to add suspicion that Marquisha is still working with Boom, and trying to. It seems like there's some collecting that they need to do. Marquisha basically said her money's running out. That's why she's acting really desperate. Goes to Boom, lets him know, and they're just working on a plan. So, and Boom says a lot of things that make me feel like he doesn't feel like he's being deceived, that it's more like a plan. Like, listen, we're locked. She says we're locked down for life because of the kids and all that other stuff. He says, you know, you're my woman. Keep your legs closed. Keep your eyes open. And she's just going to go work the system and everybody that's involved with it. So we're going to see how that plays out. That's definitely an interesting point of seeing what happens for the remainder of the season. Nicole and the family, they do a little picture together for graduation, and everybody's just talking about they wish Meech was there. So now we get Marquisha. She goes to see Kiki. Basically tries to throw this whole aspect of women empowerment, how we can do better, and And
just another example of how women don't like women and how they're willing to lie to their sister friends to get whatever they want in life.
And then Kiki was talking about Isaac and how they had big plans, but Isaac left town because he had a wife and he moved out of state and left her high and dry. But Marquisha ain't really trying to hear all that because all she needs to do is get Isaac's number
so she can collect money.
So she can, and Kiki does it. So she gassed her whole girl up, trying to make her feel good because all she needs, she used her. That's it. She used her, manipulating and used her.
Just like Isaac did. Like Kiki should be being used at this point in her life. Like you mad because you the extra woman. Like he's been lying the whole time telling me he's gonna leave his wife. Don't everybody tell women that? I mean, ain't that the same issue Marquisha's in with Terry? Like that's why she knew the avenue to play with her here. And then she lied to her and just created more trauma for Kiki moving forward, and then promised to send her to the rye to make up for it.
That's funny as shit. Just say, listen, don't worry about Isaac, man. I got the perfect thing for you.
We're gonna send you to Phoenix University.
Phoenix or was it? What's the other one? Is it ADDC? What's it called? What's the other joke called?
Shit, yeah. Which one you talking about?
I gotta let this up,
girl. You gonna get your degree? You ain't gotta have to worry about him no more.
Yeah, what's that joke called? Oh, Everest. Don't forget about Everest. Yep.
She about to be the coldest RN out there in these streets, Joe. Because you already know that's what they all go for. They all go to be an RN.
Hey, yo, the average joint is funny as shit. Anyway, but there's that. So now we get to Nicole graduation party. Everybody partying. We get Nicole and the real Breeze, her boyfriend, as they're asking about, being told that they're so proud of her. And we see Charles chopping it up with the fellas. Lucille do a prayer for the food. Nicole begins to give thanks for everybody and lets everybody know she's going to Morris Brown. She was going to announce that she had a full ride, but then Meech shows up. Terry doesn't look happy about it at all. There's no word for them for one another. But Meech takes her outside, gives her Honda Civic. But before that, though, B. Mickey shows up at this party with his daughter. As Meech was very adamant that you're not supposed to be here, dog. And B. Mickey's like, we're family. Here's something for Nicole and the family, Lucille. And I'm not sure if Charles did here, but definitely everybody was okay with this, but Meech. But anyway, like I said, he was dropping something for Nicole. He said we're family, right? Lucille definitely said make sure you continue to come around, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when Meech takes Nicole outside for a Honda Civic. So now she got her own car and her own freedom.
That was a Mercury Cougar.
Was it
that of a Mercury joint?
Nah, bro. That was I think that was a Civic, bro.
It was the size of a Civic, so I think that's why you think it's a Honda Civic. But no, folks wasn't driving Honda Civics like that in the early 90s. You had an Accord, but not a Civic.
Yeah.
Well, what's the little chunk she used to have? I can't remember. Like,
I don't think it's a Mercury. It's a damn whatever it is. It's something. She got her little beater
Cavalier, little Chevy Cavalier Jones. Them Jones right there. That's what. It wasn't no beater. That was brand new. It just the 90s, so it don't look like it was new. It said it had a sound system at all, so it's Detroit. She probably had big subwoofers in the truck already.
Yeah.
How did they throw Nicole that big ass graduation party and they broke? Like, you can't afford a cake, but you afford it.
No. Terry's there. They got money. Terry's there.
No. But so Terry couldn't buy the cake? Like,
he wasn't there. He wasn't there. And that's why I said. That's what I said. Is the delivery? Is that
wasn't there?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is that how delivery was done then? That's why I asked that, because was it one of those things where like you order it and it comes to you and then you pay? There's no pay in advance in that. Was that the model then that you don't pay in advance? You order it and it comes because they feel like it's less of a liability on delivery because I'm at your damn house.
But not only that, we saw the cake he had in his hand versus the amount of people that showed up to her graduation party. Who the fuck was that cake for? Was that like Nicole's personal cake? Because you ain't feeding all them black folks with that cake. Like, she had a whole hall for high school graduation. I thought they would like have a house party or something. They like, nah, we going all out. Which, I mean, it makes sense for her brothers and who they are, but we already knew this episode. Terry was already like short on funds. So who paid for this? Because Terry did.
I mean,
Charles?
I wouldn't look that deep into it. I think Terry has money. He just doesn't have that type of money. And no. Matter of fact, let's make it clear. He has money because he's still gambling. He's just not making the money he wants. So, like, I would imagine Terry has 100,000. He don't have.
We're gonna say my man Charles paid for this. We ain't gonna disrespect Charles.
Okay.
Charles been out on the streets with the what did he say? He with the whinings. He said the Clark sisters. I think he said Shirley Caesar.
He did.
Like, my man out here. He out here on the gospel road trips. Like, Charles, my guy. He like, nah, I got this. My baby girl, you the only one that graduated. Like, Meech ain't graduate. Terry was on his way, then he lost his eye. So I gotta make sure my baby girl get throw the biggest party in the world.
All right, let's get to the next scene now. We get T, he gets a call, and it looks like that they couldn't find Jay Pusher in St. Louis, but he's at the restaurant. So he gets there. Oh, and before that, I'm sorry, I'm jumping a whole lot here. There's definitely some beef between the brothers. T did not. I'm sorry. So yeah, there's definitely beef between the brothers. But then after this, we get T. He goes to the restaurant to meet Jay Pusher. They hear that Meech is at the door. He doesn't even want the door to open up for Meech, but Meech shows up. Him and Jay Pusher are clearly on the same page. You can see there's no issues there, which is why he's obviously there. And everybody's happy to see Meech. And when T said, listen, this dude hasn't paid in months. That's why I'm here to make it right. And he's like, nah, that's why he's here, for me to collect. We're good. The brothers get in a fight. Meech definitely gets the best of T. T pulls out a knife, and then he tells everybody to get out because that's what happens when you lose. And then
we still gonna act like.
And then Hoop wants to know what happened in Mexico. Like, why are these two dudes acting the way they did? What were you about to say?
We still gonna act like the size disparity between Meech and Terry would lead to Meech winning that fight? Because no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You can think much deeper than that, and I was like, okay, whatever.
When they was fighting, all I thought was, nah. Like I feel in this first episode, they did a job of portraying Terry as soft, because that's how he comes across in this whole episode. That's the one element. Even though I thought the episode was slow moving, and I think you could have wanted more. What disappointed me the most in this episode was the depiction of Terry. Now, I don't know if they're just doing it to set up that he now has to venture out on his own to establish Southwest T as we know, but it just felt wrong to see Terry just so down and being so disrespected and people being okay with it.
Yeah. I have to agree there and see how that ends up playing out for the arc of Southside T. And also too, we're still ways Southwest T. Yeah, and we're still ways apart. I mean, they're still not wearing their BMF chains. We'll talk about the part at the end. Yeah, it's still ways apart from who we truly know them to be. All right, next thing is, so now we get Nicole. She's like, hey, I got another gift at the door, but it's actually for Lucille, which happens to be her pastor robe. Charles gives Nicole her flowers about being the first to graduate. He talks a little bit about his father and everything he went through, and why he had to give up his dreams. And Charles also shares that he has good news that he's going back on tour next week. But Nicole gives him his flowers and just says, like, I know your dad isn't here, but I'm proud of you too, Pops. And also mentions that she got the full scholarship to Morris Brown, which obviously makes him happy because he don't have to pay. But yeah, I don't think it was like dramatic that he was happy, because he said that he was going to take care of him regardless. But obviously this is a big load off of his shoulders. But then we see Lucille in the mirror with her gown, so she's kind of living in the moment. Then we get Meech and T, where they're handling the money. After they just fall, all's good. But Meech is like, I'm going back to Atlanta. And then there's a shootout. Bullets are flying. The Flenory brothers, they do not have any bullets, so they decide to make a run. They get cornered because the gates is locked, the door's locked, and it happens to be Lamar who was busting at them. And Lamar said, addiction's a powerful drug, Charlie Murphy. But
exactly,
he said, you thought you won. And then he is shot twice. And it happens to be B. Mickey. And B. Mickey, who has been following them because he needed to talk to them. And he said, man, please hear me out. Meech says, this doesn't change anything. I'm getting the hell out of Detroit. I'm going back to Atlanta. Both of the brothers skirt off. B. Mickey leaves. And Lamar body's gone. Then we get Terry back at his apartment. Markeisha shows up. Talks about having to connect to South Carolina. But that's it. Because it ain't nothing but business here. And he shows her out. We go back to the AA meeting where we see Abe talking about his son Milton and how, that has affected him, only to see another person named Mark over on the other side who may have something to say about his son, who we all know Mark to be Detective Bryant. And then last but not least, we get Meech driving, reflecting back into Mexico. So now we have another scene of their time in Mexico where we got some witchcraft happening on him, and brings him back to life, and then gives him a lot of God, I cannot think of the word I want to use here. What is the word?
Proclamations.
Yes, thank you. Prophecies. That's another good one about Meech being a legend, being a black Pablo Escobar, and
which is
a leader.
Insane. Out of all things to be, is the black Pablo Escobar. That's crazy.
And while there's some translation, it says like, listen, God has great plans for us, and God's not mad at me; He's mad about me. And then we get some commentary narration where we hear about how the brothers, they're on different paths, but Mexico changed them forever. And it appears that this is grown up Meech voice at this time, who's played by or voiced by John Chaplin. But then we get him back in Atlanta, looking up at the billboard, only to see So Def Records, which means he's in Atlanta, which means he's back in Atlanta.
What year is this again? 92?
Yeah, and now we know that's foreshadowing for things to come for the BMF music side of things. So here's my two things I want to say. Is there a chance that we're going to have a character playing Blue Da Vinci?
I doubt it. We got
doubt
to.
it.
Nah.
I feel like they got to, but I doubt it.
I'm going to be super disappointed.
They're going to take the most creative freedoms ever with this one.
See, nah, man. I need Blue Da Vinci on this show, like the same way folks been wanting. Damn it, what's my man on Power? Who I forgot that damn fast. That don't make no sense.
Birilla,
not Birilla. Damn. Shamik playing.
Oh, Breeze.
I need Blue Da Vinci on this show, like folks need Breeze on Power. Because I think that's a turn for BMF. Because that's the full turn into music. Really starts with Blue Da Vinci. So you need him in here. But I mean, just as it pertains just to the way this episode closes out is very interesting. I mean, God being happy for Meech, and God, they prophesizing over Meech because, God loves drug dealers and people who destroy communities and in lives. Because, that's why God don't play about Meech, is because Meech sells drugs, and he wants him to be the next Pablo Escobar.
Hey, so what's the chances we see Jermaine Dupri in this?
You got to. You show that big So Def sign, and Chris Cross, because this is around the time for Jump.
That's a good point.
That's when So Def really was taking off. Like I'm always looking forward when BMF does anything with Atlanta, and as we're moving on to the music scenes of it. Because you said Blue Da Vinci, key part is who's playing Jeezy?
Oh, not yet.
That's a hell of a connect right there. Mr. 17.5? Come on, Joe. Like,
you know what's crazy with everything that they keep talking about what happened in Mexico? We also got to remember that once they do go full blown music, the music aspect of component of BMF, they also take this crazy ass trip back to Mexico. So it's like, how do we and like if we want to talk about things we want to see, show us the reenactment or your version of what that Mexico trip was with everybody on BMF time.
That would be super dope. I just want to see, like as Pusha T said, when Big Meech brought the Tigers in. Like, I need to see when Big Meech did that.
Exactly.
Like we're now at the point where we want to see the fantastical things that happened to Meech as they were building this musical empire, as he became a key figure in hip hop.
Yeah.
You want to see these elements of it. And I think that's the thing that gives you hope for the rest of the season, is maybe you're just establishing this discord between the brothers, because this is how we do launch into the bigger elements that everyone knows BMF to be. Like, we've done the backstory, but now get to the bigger elements, but it's gonna be hard to get this in one season. That's why they got to get another one, because
they never said this was the final season. STARZ will be honest about that, as we know with the power shows. But let's wrap it there. This is episode 1 of BMF from season 4. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about this episode, the premiere episode, the things you like, the things you didn't like, the things we missed, the things you want to have further discussion with in the comments below. Yeah. We'll be back for episode 2. We hope things pick up momentum wise. Not so many talking points in this, but we'll see how it goes. And definitely step on the channel, step over on the channel and look at some of the interviews that we do have posted for you in terms of breaking down this season. It's all available for you right now. But until then, we'll see y'all back next week for another recap review show here at Big Go Built Media for BMF season 4. Thank you for watching, folks.